Hey guys, it's Madison, and it is currently Friday, October 27th, so nearing the end of October very quickly. The past couple of weeks, the colors of the leaves have been changing, the air has been getting colder and colder, and so it's really feeling like fall these days. This weekend, I'm hoping to start kind of a fun little language challenge that will hopefully get me back in that motivation groove. So the language challenge I'm decided to do is a kind of Spooktober sort of situation. So like I said, it's the end of Halloween. Halloween is next Tuesday, and so I'm thinking that I can kind of do some spooky, scary activities every single day for the next few days. And while I might do some activities that are not spooky, scary as well, the goal is to do at least one kind of Halloween themed spooky, scary activity every single day of this challenge. So for today, day one of this little Spooktober language challenge, I think I'm going to kind of keep it simple and light because it is Friday, it's the end of a long work week. I don't necessarily have a ton of motivation to devote to actively learning languages today because, you know, my brain is sad and tired after the work week. But what I am going to do as far as the Halloween spooky-ish vibe activity is drama watching. I've actually not watched any dramas for, I think, over a month at this point, which might be the longest I've gone without dramas in years, because normally I have at least a couple things I'm watching at all times, but I don't know, recently I've been watching a lot of just English YouTube and not watching any Korean or Mandarin or Japanese, any kind of show in any other language. And so I want to get back into that with a couple of dramas that I've actually started already. One of them, I only have 2 episodes left, so it's almost done. And it involved murder, someone who was falsely accused of murder and then figuring out who was the actual murderer and that kind of stuff. So, you know, mystery, kind of spooky, you know, dead people, that's kind of scary-ish, right? I'm not really into horror, so all of the spooky, scary Halloween stuff will not be like horror movies per se, because I don't like that. But, you know, that's close enough to spooky, scary vibes to work for me for this Halloween activity. And the other drama that I started before was one that involves like a curse and like putting spells on people. So that is my primary goal for tonight, to watch a few episodes of those dramas, and then we'll see if I end up doing anything else. I might try to throw some Korean reading in there at some point tonight because I am trying to get back into that goal. So that is my plan for today, and we shall see how it goes. All right, it's now day 2 of this little Spooktober challenge thing I'm doing. I will say last night I finished one of those dramas I mentioned, the one that had like the murder situation, not the one that had the spells and the curses. But yeah, other than that, I also did a bit of webtoon reading, and yeah, I didn't do as much as I thought I would yesterday. It was fine, I just thought I would watch more drama episodes and I didn't end up actually watching that many. But today I'm hoping to do a bit more of language stuff. We'll see, because I am trying to finish up a video that I'm hoping to post tonight. So that's probably gonna take several hours. So I'm not sure how much time I'll have left to work on languages, but I am going to make sure that I do something that's more Halloween-y or spooky today compared to yesterday, so that it actually feels like a Spooktober challenge. And the way I'm thinking about doing that today is through some Mandarin or Japanese. So I'm hoping to do Chinese or maybe like NHK Easy News for Japanese. And I'm sure that the NHK News, for example, I'm sure they'll have something Halloween themed for this time of month. We'll have to see, I guess. But for Do Chinese, I'm fairly certain they'll have something Halloween related for this year. And if not, I'm sure they have stuff from past years. I know I read one last year or the year before that was related to Halloween, so I'll find something on there. And even if there's no like nonfiction article, I'm sure there'll be some like scary stories on there as well. And then aside from that, assuming I do finish my video editing fairly quickly and have some time to do some reading stuff, I'm thinking about either starting the other YA novel that I have or starting a new webtoon, possibly. Neither one of those are spooky in any way, just a reading thing that I want to do. And then the other thing I need to work on today is my speech for the speech contest. If you didn't catch my video a couple of weeks ago, I'm entering a Korean speech contest, which is terrifying because I actually have pretty serious stage fright. This coming Thursday is when I need to actually give the speech in front of people. So I need to practice that speech again. I haven't actually gone through the speech since I filmed my preliminary round video, which was like 10 days ago, so I probably should have been practicing this whole time, but I have not been because I haven't really been thinking about it. So that was probably a mistake, but yeah, I have what, like 5 days left, oh my gosh, until the speech contest to remind myself of what is in the speech and to get really natural at saying the speech. So anyway, all that to say that today I'm hoping to run through that speech a few times. That's my goal for today. Some Chinese/Japanese news or Halloween stories, and then webtoon or novel and speech practice. So yeah, that's the goal for today.
慢慢的，他有一种不好的感觉。
Alright, hi, it's now day 3. Try to ignore the serious wrinkling in this sweatshirt, but yeah, yesterday the video editing took my entire day, and so I had no time to do almost anything else. I did manage to do a bit of Chinese, as you saw. I was trying to find like a non-fiction article that was about Halloween, but the search feature apparently only searches through titles, not for any like related content or anything, so I couldn't find anything that was like non-fiction and had the word Halloween in the title. So I just browsed around instead until I found a spooky looking story. Apparently I've read the first 2 chapters before, so I'm assuming that was when I had the free account, because with the free account for the series, you can only usually read the first chapter or the first couple of chapters. And so apparently I read the first 2 chapters at some point, and as I read chapter 1 again yesterday, it did sound like vaguely familiar, although like none of the details were still in my head. So I'm looking forward to finishing that. It did kind of give me the creepy feeling as I was reading it, but again, I'm not like a horror story lover or like any scary story lover, so I'm kind of a weak judge of that, but I was like, oh, scary, a note from a stranger. So I am looking forward, like I said, to finishing that, and today I hope to continue that. Today as well, I'm hoping to get around to that speech because I didn't do any of that other Korean stuff yesterday. I want to practice my speech a lot today. I'm thinking like every hour, maybe once or twice, going through the entire speech and just like really ingraining it back into my head because it has been so long since I practiced. As far as other things I want to work on today, I'm pretty free today, no big plans, so I could do a bit more in terms of language studying because I feel like so far this video has been very, very weak on language learning, but yeah, I really want to do an advanced reading Korean thing today because it's been a while since I've done one of those. And then possibly some Japanese spooky Halloween-y stuff as well. We'll see, but that's the rough goal for today. Let's see if today I can finally actually get some serious amounts of active language learning done. 네, 그럼 이상으로 마치겠습니다. 들으셔서 감사합니다. 이 테스트하면서 이렇게 자기 성과를 알아볼 수 있습니다. 이렇게 자기 성과를 알아볼 수 있습니다. 이 테스트가 왜 재밌는지, 하지만 제가 확실하게 아는 부분이 딱 하나 있습니다. 这件事情真的太奇怪. 오늘은 제가 왜 그렇게 생각하는지 설명하도록 하겠습니다. 사귀었는데 갱가? 아, fight? That's right.
つまらないようにしたいと考えています。これまでのハロウィンより深刻なトラブルが起きるリスクが高まっているとして警戒を強めています。
Alright, as you can tell by my outfit change, it's now Monday, which means I had to go back to work today, which is unfortunate, especially because this weekend, for some reason, felt extremely short. But yeah, it is Monday, which is why I'm keeping my nice shirt on from work because I do have my Zoom advanced Korean class tonight at 7 o'clock. I did change the bottom half into sweatpants because it is a Zoom class, so I don't have to look nice on the bottom half, just the top. But yeah, as for yesterday and the activities I managed to complete, I did manage to go through my speech, I think 10 times, if I counted correctly, which might not sound like as much as it felt like it was because it took quite a bit of time to go through the speech that many times. I did space it out throughout the day. I didn't manage to do every single hour that I was awake, but I did practice quite a few times throughout the day, so I'm very happy with that. And I really feel like I'm in a much better place with that speech. I'm not as comfortable as I'd like to be before Thursday, but I do feel like I'm not nearly as rusty as I was with the speech as I was yesterday, so that's good. As far as the Halloween-y themed things, I did a couple of things more than previously, but not as many as I had hoped. For Chinese, I managed to read another episode of that story, The Human Chair, that I started previously, and it got really weird really quickly. Like, the premise of the story is that there's like this author character who got some fan mail, and apparently this like anonymous fan sent her this like weird letter. And in chapter 2, which I was reading yesterday, he's like describing himself as like this really, really ugly guy. He's like, you have to know that I'm ugly and I'm like deformed from being unhealthy. And I was just like, what? Deformed? Like, what does that mean? But anyway, I'm curious to see where the story goes. It actually had a surprising amount of really difficult vocabulary. It's only marked as intermediate, and I usually like range from intermediate to upper intermediate even. But for some reason, the vocab level felt very difficult for an intermediate leveled story, but whatever. So after that one episode, originally I was planning on reading all of the chapters left in the story. I think there's 8 total, but after that one kind of difficult one with the weird deformity talk, I was like, I'll read the rest of this later, and didn't actually get back to it for the rest of the night. So today I'm hoping on finishing that, depending on how long it takes. And then as you guys saw, I also found a story about Halloween on NHK News Easy for Japanese. And as I was reading through that story, I could really tell how much my Japanese has improved because of my experience using Saturday Reader. And if you didn't see my last week's video talking about how I use that app every single day to improve my reading, check that out. But yeah, I could really tell the big impact it's had because I think I knew like almost all of the vocab, only one I wasn't sure of. So yeah, very good there. I was very happy with how much I understood and how much I was able to read pretty effortlessly. I will say I was missing Saturday Reader's amazing like in-app features where you can just click on any word and see the definition, because there were a couple words where I was like, I'm pretty sure that means this, I want to check, and I had to like copy and paste it into a dictionary, which is not difficult, but it's more difficult than Saturday Reader. So I was missing the premium features of that app. But again, I was very satisfied with how much vocab I was retaining as I was reading through. Although at the end I did watch the like associated video, which is not in like the easy news kind of diluted version. And so that was very difficult. And I was like, oh, slap of reality of how much I actually understand of Japanese news. But still, I was pretty proud of myself for what I was able to understand. So that's good as well. So moving on to today. Today I'm really hoping to do quite a bit more Halloween themed stuff, just because I feel like even though I have been doing 1 or 2 things every single day so far, it has not been overwhelmingly October-y or Halloween-y or spooky, which is kind of disappointing since that's the entire point of this video. So I'm going to really amp it up for these last 2 days, or at least I'm hoping to. We'll see how that pans out in reality. But yeah, like I mentioned tonight, I do have that class, which will take up an hour and a half of my time. Plus, I do want to run through the speech, which is also not Halloween-y, but aside from that, I have several things I want to do. So first of all, I want to go ahead and finish up that Do Chinese story, figure out the whole backstory of Mr. Ugly Deformed Guy and what makes this story so scary, and also why it's called the human chair. Still wondering about that, but that's one thing for Chinese. Also, I found that today they posted a new NHK News Easy for Japanese that's related to Halloween again, talking about Korea actually, and how they had a memorial for the tragic event that happened last Halloween weekend. And then on a lighter note, I think I do want to actually throw some more drama watching in there, because I feel like watching spooky stuff is a much better way to kind of get in the Halloween mood compared to just finding a couple of Halloween news stories. And so I do want to get back into some drama stuff today. As for what drama to watch, I'm kind of debating between a couple of different options. One option is to finish that drama that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, which I started a couple of months ago, that involves like spells and curses and stuff. I wasn't super loving that drama, but I am kind of halfway through it-ish, and so it wouldn't take super long. And the other option is to start a totally new one that I haven't watched before at all. I was looking up like ghost-related Korean dramas, and I found one called The Ghost Detective, which sounds like it could be interesting, and I tend to like detective mystery solving dramas, and since this one has like a ghost in it as well, that could be Halloween themed as well. I'm not sure I'll finish a full drama in like 2 work days, so I am kind of hesitant if I want to like start a Halloween-y thing and then not finish it before Halloween. So I'm not sure between those 2 which one I will choose, but I guess I'll kind of think about it in the back of my head, and then when it comes time to actually watch the drama, I'll make a snap decision then. But that is my plan for moving into even more spooky Halloween-y themed studying stuff for the last 2 days of this challenge.
레디 뭐 하셨어요? 주말에?
뭐 당연히 집에만 있었는데 언어 공부할 때 좀 할로윈 관련된 걸 좀 보고 공부했어요.
그러셨구나. 할로윈.
네.
말씀은 저희들로.
All right, so it's finally Tuesday, October 31st, Halloween day. So the last day of this little Spooktober, spooky, scary Halloween-y themed challenge. And as you saw, I finished The Human Chair, that story on Do Chinese. And let me tell you, that story went from 0 to 100 real quick. Like, I was not expecting it to get that creepy and that disturbing. Like, I was actually like getting chills and feeling so creeped out. You should have seen me. I wish I was like filming the whole time, but I read for like an hour and a half, so there's no way I was gonna film the entire time I was reading. But I was literally like talking to my iPad as I was reading, like, oh, what? No. Like, I was actually doing that, just by myself in my room to my iPad. So it was definitely quite a story. I don't want to like spoil what happened just in case anyone out there is going to read it, because if you speak any Chinese and you can read like an intermediate-ish story, go get your Chinese and read that story, because what? It was such a crazy story. I can't even describe how creeped out I was by the premise of the story. Like, for those of you who do read it, chapter 1 is like, okay, is this gonna be scary? It doesn't seem scary. Chapter 2 is like, okay, you're a bit weird saying that you're like deformed because of your lifestyle. Chapter 3 is like, okay, we get it, you make chairs, cool. And then from like chapter 4, you're like, Sir, what are you doing? What? Why would anybody? So anyway, that is that story. Hopefully that's a tantalizing review. I wish I could say more, but I really don't want to spoil it for anyone who could possibly read it, because I just feel like you need to go through the roller coaster that I went through. So that's that. That was definitely Halloween vibes, because I was legit kind of creeped out last night. Of course, it is just my opinion, so maybe you won't find it that scary, especially since I do have a low tolerance for creepy stuff, but I don't know. I guess you'll have to read it and report back. But anyway, finishing that story on Do Chinese definitely got me in the Halloween spooky, creepy mood. I ended up not reading any news articles about the Itaewon crush tragedy last year, just because after reading that really like disturbing story, I didn't want to go from like disturbing fiction to depressing, sad reality. And so I ended up putting that off to probably today. I'll read an article or watch some news about that, because I do want to do something to kind of commemorate and remember the tragedy of last year in Seoul. But what I did end up doing after the story is I decided to kind of end the night on a more fun note after being so creeped out. And so I did end up starting that ghost drama that I found from like a list of dramas that involve ghosts in Korea. And I've watched a couple of dramas that involve ghosts in the past, and they've never really been that scary. And so I was kind of expecting the same thing for this one. Is like, oh, ghost detective, like solving crimes and there's ghosts, wow. And so I was kind of expecting more of a lighthearted vibe like a lot of the other ones that I've watched, but no, this drama was also kind of unexpectedly creepy and scary. It would have been a lot more scary if some of the CGI wasn't a little bit cringe. And so thankfully the kind of occasional not so great effects and like, I don't know, spooky scenes helped it not be as scary. But like it opened with like a creepy body coming out of mud, and I was like, what have I got myself into? It was like 11 o'clock at night. I was already disturbed from that psychological creepiness of the Chinese story, and I was like, I wanted to have a fun ghost detective story, but this is scary. But thankfully most of it wasn't scary. Just occasionally there's these scenes that are like, oh my god, and like child abductions and stuff. So yeah, a little on the scary dark side as far as like fun Halloween ghost stories. I probably should have done a bit more research, but it is an interesting story. I watched the first 4 episodes. They're half-an-hour episodes, so about 2 hours of content last night before I went to bed. I'll watch a bit more today. No, I won't be able to finish it before Halloween is over, but you know, still, it's Halloween themed for sure. Today, since it is Halloween and a holiday, I want to kind of celebrate it by actually going outside. I know, shocking, I'm leaving my house and going outside. I thought I would download another short Chinese story. This one is just like a 1 episode, one and done kind of thing, so it should be a lot shorter than the last multi-chapter story. And so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and head outside now, bring my little iPad with Do Chinese and look at some nature, some falling colored leaves, and read another ghost story.
クで去年の10月29日、ソウルのイテウォンにある坂で150人以上が亡くなる事故がありました。
Alright, Halloween is over, October is over, and that means this challenge is also over. Let's go ahead and evaluate how these past 5 days went. So last night I was looking through some of the footage from the past 5 days of this challenge, and it was actually really interesting hearing how I was describing this challenge at the beginning, like the first day of the challenge, because it very much changed over the 5 days. At the beginning I was talking about how I really wanted to get back into my advanced Korean studying, which did not happen at all the entire challenge. I actually forgot that that was even one of my goals. But yeah, looking over what I did manage to do, I am pretty happy with how things went. I think things definitely got better as the challenge progressed and got more Halloween themed and actually felt spookier and, you know, on topic for this challenge. If you look at all of the activities that I did over the past 5 days, I think the ones that stand out the most are the human chair, which is that scary Chinese story that kind of threw me for a loop. The NHK Easy News articles that I did on both Sunday and Tuesday were also very Halloween themed, even though they were more factual news-based articles talking about current events that were related to Halloween. And then finally, the drama Ghost Detective on the last 2 days was actually a bit scarier than I anticipated and had hoped, because I was actually trying to use it as like a fun, ghost-related, lighthearted Halloween thing, and it ended up being a little bit more scary and more intense than I had planned for, but still I thought that it fit with the theme of Halloween very well. You know, being a little spooked, a little uncomfortable, I think fits what I was going for this challenge. So over those 5 days, I spent exactly 11.5 hours on languages, which I think is pretty good. Definitely more than I have been getting the past couple of weeks. And then out of those 11.5 hours, almost 8.5 of those were Halloween adjacent activities, which I think is pretty good for this Spooktober challenge. And most of that time came from both the human chair Chinese story and the dramas that I was watching. So yeah, that's a basic summary of what I did over the past 5 days. Honestly, it turned out a bit more fun than I anticipated, especially as I got kind of closer to Halloween and the activities started getting more spooky and actually on theme. And I think I'm going to try and do this in future years as well. I've never really been into Halloween a lot beyond just the trick-or-treating as a kid stuff. Like I said, I'm not really into horror or scary stuff or haunted houses or any of that, but, you know, for a couple of days each year, I think it is kind of fun to go out of your comfort zone and, like, you know, watch things and search things out that you wouldn't typically search out. Or even beyond Halloween, possibly doing a Christmas thematic challenge or a Valentine's Day thematic challenge. Who knows? The possibilities are out there. But yeah, that is all I had to say for this particular language challenge. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite holiday is, if you've ever done any kind of topic, thematic, language challenges. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, annyeong.